So poops, thank you to those of you who have been donating and also signing up for memberships on my channel. You're the best and you keep this channel going. So poops, this morning when I went to the gym, two people who follow my channel, first thing they said to me was, "Ha, party Bersama." And yep, that was the main event of the weekend. Congratulations, no longer YBs, Nick Nasmi and Rafizi. Depending on what happens, I hope to see you guys as YBs again. All the best on your Hala Tuju Baru. It's gonna be a fun kamikaze, I'm sure. Well, on this channel, I like talking about ironies though, and there is a very big, ironic elephant in the room at the moment. And that's the fun irony that Bersama means together, but people are complaining about the splitting of the Malay vote. So poops, we have a lot of political parties in this country, 72, 73, according to RAF, and I validated this while doing a bit of research on Bersama. But yup, on the comment sections, you're seeing people go around complaining about Melayu makin berpecah makin lemah, which is a comment that a lot of people have been making. I do admit that Bersama is probably going to split the Malay vote in some ways by getting some people who might not have even voted for PKR or UMNO or PAS because of corporate mafia, corruption, hina sahabat, or any of the hundreds of thousands of positions that people can no longer take because they are tired of the hypocrisy of modern day political parties.
But then, right,
when I look at what Bersama is advocating for, I don't actually think that it is Bersama's fault. The whole splitting of the Malay vote thing, maybe Bersama contributes to it, but I think it's something that started a long time ago.
in the same way that Bersama means together, but people accuse it of dividing the Malays, well, Bersatu means united, but
kinda ironic given how Bersatu literally expelled its own deputy president and it has been on a gigantic warpath against its own members. Even as president and his number one enemy sit next to one another. I love this photo. And our former leader of the opposition now is a part of Parti Keluarga Malaysia. A nice shift from Parti Keluarga Rakyat, as some people might say, I guess. But anyway, you can see that the name is kind of very different from the reality. And honestly, it's just an example of something that the community has just been doing over and over and over again. Heroes trying to speak for the real cause, saying they want to unite the people, save the country. But at the end of the day, their voters just end up confused
and probably depressed.
Once upon a time, Malay politics was UMNO and UMNO was Malay politics, but now there are dozens upon dozens of Malay parties all trying to say that they are the party to serve the Malays, to save them from devastation. Splitting, telling each other to unite, the most recent attempt of which comes from UMNO's current president Zahid, calling for a return to those old Halkayan days, saying that there's unease in the community about weakened political power, and I just have to say that this is actually a real thing. Not to celebrate it, but to explain to you that, by the way, right, it's actually our Sapoop's own fault. I mean, come on, dude. You expect that your community is not going to be split if you betray one another all the time? Talk about how y'all must unite atas dasar agama dan bangsa all the while, but then the next thing you know, then y'all play musical chairs with one another and then stab one another in the back. Bro, no habibi, that's... I don't know if you call it unity. If it's unity, bro, it's like actually schizophrenic. But then second of all, every single one of these people has an incentive to deceive one another and say that they really love their race and religion, agama, bangsa, dan negara, because of this toxic environment that all of your leaders have created from the outset. And it's like solidified at this point, so it's not like any of you necessarily want it, but like it's part of the system now, and you can't escape from that culture. I mean, dude, at the risk of becoming like Hadi Awang, DAP, this is a story that actually starts with PAS. Bit of history for those of you who don't know, but a long time ago in a land far away, PAS actually used to just be the ulama faction of UMNO. Then apparently they were like, y'all are not serious enough, and they decided to ditch and created their own party. Something that one of the great heroes of Malay unity of today, Dr. Mahathir himself, never forgave them for, saying that they betrayed the Malays, writing Facebook statuses about how he has failed, gagal, style, which I find super cute. Super cute. Because the very same Mahathir ended up creating so many splits himself. I mean, maybe some of y'all remember how Bersatu was created in the first place. It was called These Two Dudes Were Fighting. As part of a nice plan to bring down Najib. I mean, he won, you know, he got what he wanted. And that's great and everything, but you know, the whole resigning Sheraton move stuff, now that was fun. And why that happened? Well, I suppose he never actually trusted a certain Anwar Sapuk. But anyway, people never trusted him again. Probably one reason why he ended up losing his parliament seat in the place that he helped to develop, only to later create Pejuang because he believes in the nation. And what better way to do that than in a party where his son is now the president? And you might think to yourself that somehow that is just Mahathir's personal flaw. We must leave things in the past. It was all his problem along the way. Selamat datang ke UMNO, ketuanan agama dan bangsa. We all love one another, so they say. But then we are left asking why they all fell apart in the first place. One reason for which being the betrayal by a certain snake. I wonder which snake it was. And also, oh, I guess criticism doesn't really work. But we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. And then you go again. All these people just talking about how they want to unite untuk agama, bangsa, tanah, air, but they end up betraying one another. And they all have an incentive to say that we are true representatives of the race. We will mempertahankan everything and everyone. We are the true bearers of unity. We are Bersatu, Bersama, Rumah Bangsa, or whatever they want to talk about, while they keep on betraying one another, to the point that it just makes you wonder, bro, if you're experiencing this like 24/7, are you not going to develop schizophrenia? And you know, I've said this across a lot of different videos, but I'm not against Malay people uniting. I think that if you really want people of your ethno-religious group to go ahead and unite, it's not necessarily a bad idea. I think it's just become such a toxic cesspool of people trying to make people become enemies with one another. Malay versus Chinese, Chinese versus Indians. And I'm not just saying that for the Malays in general. I'm saying that even for like Chinese people. Look, I know that there are some racist people out there, I'm not going to deny that. But do you see me going out there and saying that just because a person is Chinese, therefore I like that person? Hell nah. Because at the end of the day, I think that that's not something that can survive in this world. There are good Chinese people in this world, but there are Chinese people out there who are absolutely garbage. Total trash. I, as a human being, I respect talent, I respect consistency, and that can come from any race or religion. It doesn't really matter to me. Like, if you're Chinese and you're lazy, dishonest, untrustworthy, don't do your work properly, then yeah, I'm not gonna support you. That's just how it is. Only thing is that the sins of the fathers are revisited on the sons. What the politicians of past and UMNO, the competition to be more Malay, more religious than one another, it has had its effects. There is damage, and it really is going to be hard to fight against that. But you know, if Bersama somehow manages to get people who are not just angry with Anwar Ibrahim or otherwise to actually unite and actually push forward for a new politics in Malaysia, then that's great. And in fact, if Bersama actually ends up making a difference in Malaysian politics, even if it is a so-called kamikaze move, if it shifts the political culture a little bit, then great. Like, I'm all for it. Raf gets to live up to his new image. People actually get the new alternative. Through the niet jadi president, or whatever it is that happens out there, this can actually be a third force. Anyway, this does go out to the Malay community. I do pray for you. I have no reason to support the splitting of the Malay vote. I do pray that you're going to come to the right path. This is not a semoga mendapat hidayah. This is not a conversion attempt. I don't want to hear your evangelism, by the way, so let that be mutual. But I do think that the race and religion gaslighting part of you should die, and the sooner it dies, the better. I do hope that if you're going to unite, then it's to unite on the basis of something that actually makes sense for our country and our survival. Cause at the rate things are going, I wonder once in a while whether Malaysia as a country is actually going to survive. But anyways, poops, what do you think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That's all I have to say about that, and bye.